Welcome all to this tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to and where to download Red Hat and how can you install it on VirtualBox. Now, even though I know I've said that this is going to be done in Windows 8.1, and here I have indeed showed you how to actually install VirtualBox in Windows 8.1. Now, I mainly want to show you how to use VirtualBox and how to actually install an operating system here in your virtualized environment. It does not matter if you are using Mac, Linux, BSD, Windows, and pretty much whatever else is out there that is supported by VirtualBox or that supports VirtualBox. The interface is the same. There are minor trivial differences which basically do not matter at all. I can't imagine why they would. So I'm just going to use a VirtualBox on my physical machine, which is Fedora, but the interface is exactly the same. I could obviously do it here in a virtual machine, but to install a virtual machine within a virtual machine, yeah, I would need, I basically could do it, but it would completely eat up my RAM. If you just take a look at this, where is it? Over here, this is the current load of my system. So it's a bit ridiculous, right? So the four cores of the processor, look at the load. I mean, there it's like 39, 41, 48, 45, something like that. And look at the RAM usage. I have around 8 gigs of RAM. Out of those 8 gigs, I'm using 6. So many things running on my computer at the moment. So I'm just going to use a VirtualBox, which is here on my Linux system that I'm spinning around the screen now. But the procedure is exactly the same. I mean, just take a look at this one. This it says Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager, and now take a look at this one in Windows. They are exactly the same. Maybe there are some design differences at the corners and a bit of difference in terms of colors, but that's about it. There's pretty much no difference in terms of functionality or what you do here. Anyway, what do I have? I have Red Hat here running. Okay, we're not gonna need that. Power off the machine. And I'm gonna delete this one, delete all files, just so that I can repeat the installation procedure for you. I did go through it once. I mean, I have went through CentOS once and everything like that. I like to go through them before I actually begin the tutorial, just because sometimes you encounter problems, flaws, and if I do encounter them, I like to report them during the tutorials and show people how to resolve them in advance just in case they encounter them. Anyway, let's just move that out of the way. So you just open up your browser on whatever operating system you are using, and if you're using Windows, it doesn't matter, just open up your browser as I have opened it now. Go ahead and type in to your search engine, I don't know, like Red Hat. Amazing. Red Hat. Okay, Red Hat, the world's open source leader. This is their website, and here you would log in. So you do need to create an account in order to do this. Creating an account on Red Hat is absolutely free, and once you actually create an account there, head over to this link, but you can navigate on the page without problems, but I'm just going to give you a link as the worst case scenario, I guess. Let me just zoom it in. So it's here, basically, in the download section. It's not that hard to find. There are a lot of Linux distros out there. There are a lot of different versions of Red Hat, depending for what purpose are you downloading. And Red Hat, even though it is open source, it is not free. That something is open source does not necessarily have to mean that it's free of charge. Although Red Hat itself is an operating system, they don't actually charge for that. Rather, instead, they charge for the support. So if you want to access the repositories from which you can download software and updates and so on and so forth, you will need to pay a yearly fee. Now, the good news is that the yearly fee is like $50 for regular users. For companies or something like that, it can go up to 3K or something of a kind. But hey, you are a regular user, so it's only 50 bucks. And if you don't want to pay for those, even if you don't want to pay 50 bucks or something like that for the support or something of a kind, it's fine. There is something called CentOS on my other page. Well, just here. Just type into your search engine CentOS. I'm using Firefox here, but doesn't really matter. Whichever operating system, whichever browser. CentOS, go and visit their page. just going to close this one because I have another one opened. And there you go. CentOS is pretty much a copy of Red Hat. Red Hat does not have a problem with that. Just a heads up info or something of a kind. Red Hat does not have a problem with CentOS. In fact, they cooperate on a lot of things. Here's why. CentOS doesn't actually charge for anything. It's completely free. It's open source. You can download it for free without any sort of registration required, and it gives the users a chance to see what Red Hat can be really like. Furthermore, you can the one of the fundamental differences between CentOS and Red Hat is the support. Pretty much everything else is more or less the same. So you can download it and you should be able to follow through the tutorial without any bigger difficulties of whatsoever, as things will be pretty much the same. If you do encounter into some problems, please do let me know. I will be more than happy to jump in and help you out. Now, there are a few things that you should pay attention here when downloading CentOS. Make sure that you know whether your system is a 32-bit or a 64-bit operating system. If it's 64-bit, it won't matter. You will be able to run 32-bit images and 64-bit images without any problems. However, if it is a 32-bit system, then you will not be able to run 64-bit images. And I have made a bit of a spin here with words, but I think you get the meaning. Make sure that you know whether it's 32-bit or 64-bit. Anyway, so you have a DVD ISO, everything ISO, minimal ISO. You can certainly choose one of these three, but what I would recommend if you're going to download CentOS, just to go, if this is not for you, alternative downloads might be. So just go ahead and click here. This will give you a choice. So you have CentOS 7 and the version of the 7, and you have it only for 64-bit systems, if I'm not mistaken. And down below you have CentOS 6 if you're using a 32-bit system. Just go ahead and download this one where it says i386. Just in case you are using a 32-bit system, please keep in mind a lot of people make this mistake and then they can't install it in the VirtualBox. They get a lot of errors. They can't figure out what is wrong, but eventually they do, and it's not a major obstacle, I would say, but it certainly does cause a loss of time. Just a bit of attention and you can save yourselves a lot of trouble. Now I won't be showing the installation for CentOS, but it's almost exactly the same, if not exactly the same. Red Hat, CentOS, and Fedora, they're pretty much the same, so no problems there. Fedora is just a open source free distro maintained by Red Hat that is for desktop users. It's very nice. That is the one that I like to use as my desktop machine. Well, not my desktop machine, I run it on my laptop, and it has served me extremely well. Anyway, we are now on Red Hat's website. I have logged into my account. Sorry for that. And I am here at the downloads page, download a product. So it says Red Hat Enterprise Linux Desktop. That is the one that you will need. And it says 7.1 latest. Excellent. 64-bit architecture. Prior to this, you are gonna have a downloads page and stuff of a kind. Browse the site, see what suits you. But this is the one that I have chosen to download. If you want another version of it, just go to the download section on the site. As soon as you log in, you will be as soon as you create the actual account, which is fairly simple to do, you will be given an option to actually go to the download section, and there you can pretty much choose whatever you want. I have chosen to download Red Hat Enterprise Linux for desktops. I know it says that it's not that it's perhaps not the best for servers or something like that, but believe me, you can install packages, you can configure it, and it can run as a fantastic server. And besides, it has pretty much all the functionalities as the other ones do. However, you do need to bother with the installation of extra packages, configuration, and addition of stuff, as opposed to some other variations where you don't need to do this. And for example, Red Hat server or something of a kind, it would support file sizes up to a petabyte or something of a kind, which is humongous. You're definitely not going to need that realistically ever. I mean, unless you work in a large company or something of a kind, and then they have these products. But the management, the commands, the setup, everything is pretty much the same. There's very little difference. So go ahead and select Red Hat 7.1 binary DVD download. You don't need the supplementary DVD. Just go ahead and download the binary DVD, the middle one. Click on the download and it's going to download for you. It's 3.57 gigabytes. So it might take a while for you to download. I'm not going to download it now, but I have downloaded it previously. You can see it here. I have actually downloaded it twice because the first download was incorrect. Didn't really work out, so I just downloaded it again, which was really a painful experience, as it is a rather large file, and I don't have a really fast internet connect that fast of an internet connection here. It's like 5 megabits, so that was kind of painful, but okay. Anyway, feel free to pause the tutorial here and then continue on when the download is done, because you're gonna need this file in order to proceed. Anyway, let's just go ahead and start up our VirtualBox so that we may actually begin the installation process. Anyway, as I have said, okay, so where is it? Where is it? As I have said, I'm only showing you the application here, and the usage of this application is exactly the same across all supported platforms pretty much. So on Windows, Linux, Mac, whatever, the setup is pretty much the same. There is nothing fundamentally different that you need to do in order to perform the setup there. The installation process is different on different platforms, but the application itself, the software, it's not. It's pretty much the same. It displays the same sort of information. The process is exactly the same, so no worries there. Okay, so let's go and actually create our Red Hat machine. I'm gonna go ahead and let's just minimize this, shall we? And I don't really need this. I like to keep this part open so I know what is going on in the background. Well, maybe not in the background, but I know the load on my system. I know that there are utilities that you can put on the side that can be really useful, but for the time being, I'm just gonna leave it as it is so I can monitor the usage. You can see this is ridiculous. It gets up to 90% in all 4 cores. That's a joy. Anyway, even though it's an i7 processor, yeah. Anyway, let's just go ahead and click on New. Select the name of our virtual machine. What shall it be? Let's call it Red Hat. You see it says type Linux. Okay, so it recognized that by default. And it also said that the version Red Hat 64-bit. Make sure that you select the proper version for yourself, either 32-bit or 64-bit, depending on what you have downloaded and depending on what your system supports. So please be aware of that. Don't make that mistake. Anyway, it's 64-bit for me, so go ahead and click on Next. I would recommend giving it around, I'm going to give it around 1.2 gigs of RAM. Okay, so I know that on the net, the information exists, and this is really true, that Linux systems can run on 56 megabytes of RAM. So 56 megabytes of RAM is actually doable on a Linux system. You can actually run it, which is hilarious. I know, right? 56 megabytes, but that's not really a recommended thing. Depending on what you're going to do, that is the amount of RAM that you're going to require. But if you have RAM to spare, I would recommend giving it 1.2 for smooth operations. However, you can also give it 750 megabytes, and you can even go down to, I think, 250 megabytes, but you shouldn't really go lower than 750 if you don't absolutely need to, primarily because you might experience some lag. Let's put it so. It's gonna work. It's gonna work, that's for sure. It's gonna function, but you might experience some lag during your operations. But anyway, assign either 1.2 gigs or whatever else you can spare that is below 1.2 gigs for this purpose. However, as I said, I will show three separate methods of how you can do this, how you can actually run Red Hat parallel to your Windows machine. You can choose either three of them, see what works out for you. If you see one and if you perform that setup and if you like it, you can just take a look at the other two so you can see what else is possible, but you don't necessarily need to do all three of them. Anyway, so it's 1.2. Let's see if we can aim it a little bit better. 1.23. Okay, so let's go next. Create a virtual hard drive now. Create VDI hard drive file type. Okay, next, dynamically allocated. Next, and now we need to provide storage. Okay, this is getting a little bit annoying, so I'm gonna move it out of the way. But okay, so there we go. Here I have my temperature gadget. I like to keep an eye on that as well, primarily because you've seen the load on my CPU and all of that. It's a good idea to keep an eye on these things. Anyway, let's just assign it around. I'm gonna give it 32 gigabytes of space on my hard drive, and that's gonna be, well, acceptable. But you can assign it whatever you can spare. I mean, okay, so maybe I can give it 128 gigabytes, but that's not really gonna make a difference. I'm just doing it to show you basically what you can do. I have a lot of space here. I can use it. I can use a lot. Anyway, go ahead and click on create, but if you don't have, assign whatever you can spare. 32 gigs would be very nice. Anyway, now you need to go ahead and right click, settings, system. Oh, sorry, not system, storage. You have controller IDE, and down below it says empty. Go ahead and click on empty. In the upper right corner, you have choose virtual CD DVD disk or a physical drive. So you can actually insert a CD, a pre-burned CD into your machine and then use that one, but why bother when you have an ISO image ready standing by? So just click on choose a virtual CD drive, and it doesn't matter on what system you are. Again, you will be prompted with a file manager here, file browser, and then you will be able to navigate to the folder where you have downloaded your Red Hat from your Red Hat Linux distribution from the website. So here I have downloaded mine. Here it's DVD1. Okay, so open. It's selected there. I click OK, and then from here I'm gonna actually perform the installation, but I'm running a little bit short on time, so I'm gonna call the tutorial here and show you the continue showing you the installation process in part 2.